welcome to Teachers Off Duty. I'm Rebecca Rogers, or R. Rogers World.
I'm Tal Williams, or Mr. Williams Pre-K.
I'm Honest Teacher Vibes. Hey, best friend.
And I'm Lauren Woolley, or Mrs. Woolley in 5th. And today, this episode is supported by Student Treasures. We've been talking about Student Treasures for the past few episodes, and honestly, it is such a cool company. So, Student Treasures is trying to reach the goal of having millions and millions of student authors. So we all know that our students like to come up with crazy wild stories, which is what we're going to talk about today. But Student Treasures sends you a free publishing kit to teachers. It's free for teachers, and you get all kinds of cool materials in that kit, and then your students work together to create a class book that you then send back to them and gets created into a published bound book. Isn't that so cool?
And that's really great for student engagement also. There's so many skills that you can learn from this really cool activity. There's collaboration, like you can do kind of group stories, group illustrations, or they can be individual stories. There are so many things that you could do with that.
And taking ownership of their work too. Like when they know it's going to be a published book that they're going to see eventually, they're going to be so much more excited to work on that.
And I think it boosts their confidence as writers.
Oh, definitely. For sure.
All I can think of is like doing a cute little book for like graduation instead of doing like a program,
precious.
having them like, when I grow up, I want to be for graduation. You know,
you need to do that.
People would buy, like the parents would just like, I can't even imagine. It'd be really cute.
No, that would be, I'd buy that. I'm not even a parent of your kids, and I'd buy that.
See, and these books are the perfect example of the best side of our students. I want to talk about, I don't want to say the worst side, but the wildest side. Wild child. I want to hear your wildest student stories. Who wants to go first?
Oh my God.
I have a good one if you want to think
about
it.
Yeah, you start us off.
Okay.
Yeah, you go first.
I know a student who was like, went to the bathroom and sorry if it's TMI, but like literally was taking a dump in the bathroom and literally just sat there on the toilet playing with his lighter that he had, heard that there was another kid come into the stall, just sat there, got curious as weird teenage boys do, pulled out his lighter, lit it, lit the other kid's leg hair on fire just to see what would happen, and just pulled it back and just like waited for the guy's reaction. Heard him scream, obviously, because like some random just reached under the stall and lit his leg
at school, Johnny?
On fire, and just waited for the kid to leave so he could like clean break.
I would have knocked his hair to the back of his head.
I don't know what I would have done. I don't care. And first off, what a vulnerable. Like, why are you putting yourself in? You're vulnerable. You're taking a shapoopy, and you're gonna sit there, and you're gonna light someone. What if he just kicked open that door? What are you gonna do?
Right.
You're in the middle of a poo.
Right. It's not even like he like lit his leg hair on fire and ran. He just was on the toilet
and kept going.
Just sat there.
That was his first mistake.
Teenage boys.
I don't
are
understand them, man.
Insane.
Did that other student confront him?
Honestly, I don't think so. And I know this wasn't even a story that was sent to me. These were my brother's high school friends.
Wait a second. So
No.
This kid just got his leg hair set on fire.
He didn't say anything.
And he just walked out of the bathroom. He didn't
I
go
don't
like,
know.
hey, why are you doing that?
He never told me the rest of it.
Bathroom stall door open so hard.
Yeah. Oh, it would have been like that Big Bird meme. Just
Man.
bam. Like, I would have been like, not today.
But when I asked him, I was like, do you know who it was? He's like, I have no idea. So that tells me he wasn't even confronted by him, or else he would have known who it was. He, to this day, has no idea who was in the stall
in the
next
U.S.,
door.
we are one of the only countries who do stalls the way we do. There's a giant crack in there. You telling me you didn't poke your head through that crack while washing your hands? I would have.
Oh my God.
Look at your Bic lighter, sitting there. No, could not be me.
I have another one from the same group of guys.
Of course.
Crazy.
They sound interesting.
Crazy. So they're so sweet. So now they're, as adults, they're like really awesome. I absolutely adore them.
She goes, he set
They're
leg
so
hair on
nice.
fire. They're so sweet.
So they, for whatever reason, came into the possession of giant fireworks.
Oh, God,
And
more
it was
fire.
someone's birthday, and they tried to go to the park, and they tried to light all of these fireworks. And obviously, like, the police officers or some rangers, whoever at the park was like, you can't do that here. Like, bye, get out, or we're going to confiscate that. We're going to have to, like, call your parents. And so they were really bummed out. They started walking to their car, and as they were walking to their car, they saw a porta potty on the way, and they thought, we still have some of these really big fireworks.
No, honey, no.
Let's see, like, maybe we can contain the fireworks
Absolute
in
menace
the
to
porta
society.
potty. So they took the biggest one that they had and lit it in the porta potty. Thought that if they shut the door, they'd be able to see the sparks fly from the corners. The entire thing was just engulfed in flames. The entire
So
thing.
these guys,
school
they're
boys.
pyromaniacs now,
Yes.
right?
Oh,
Clearly.
absolutely. Funny enough, they come over every year for Hanukkah as we light candles.
Light
Oh,
the
do
lights,
they
I guess.
Do they light your toilets on fire every
Right.
year?
No,
Yeah,
but they said they
both
went
of them were
back.
around fire and poop. Like, what is up with that? There's a lot of unpacking that I don't have time for.
They got some weird fetishes I don't
yeah,
want to
I
know
don't
about.
want to even know what is
They
happening.
went back the next day, and the entire porta potty was just like completely melted down. Like
Well,
it just.
That could have caused a whole
Can you
forest fire.
imagine that smell? Just like hiking through the woods, and you just smell like plastic and poop burning. Like that's.
I like your,
Yeah,
I like your
I don't know why.
hiking sticks.
I was like
like you're
Smokey,
driving a
Yes, two
car.
walking-
Smokey
two
the
walking
Bear.
sticks.
I assumed that Smokey the Bear was like, oh.
Only you can prevent forest
Yeah.
I'm
Porta
telling
potty
you,
fires.
Teenage boys just. I want to know why. Like, you could not pay me enough to look into the mind of a
know.
teenage
Middle
boy.
school boys are just as bad though.
I
had-
know you
I'm
got
ready to go.
stories.
I had a student one year. It's the audacity for me of the things that students do. This isn't really a super crazy story, but if you knew the student that I'm talking about, he did similar stuff to this all the time. So we're sitting in class, the kids are working on something that's like bone silent. I hear something hit the ground and it sounded like a hairbrush. And I was like, oh, one of the kids dropped their brush on the ground. So I just went back to doing what I was doing. One of my girls came up to my desk and was like, Miss Richardson, you didn't see what such and such just dropped out his book bag? I was like, no. Was it not his hairbrush? She said, he has a screwdriver. A screwdriver? So I get up and I go over there. I was like, hey, man, give me the screwdriver. He's like, I don't have a screw. Don't play with me. Give me that screwdriver. So he gives it to me. I take it back to my desk. He gets up like 5 minutes later. He comes over and he's like, can I have my screwdriver back?
For what?
No.
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 This is in building class.
He said, so you just gonna take my property like that? Boy, if you don't get out my face.
What, so you can impale me? No.
What
That's
did
a
he
no
have
for
the
me.
screwdriver
You
for?
know his crazy self was gonna try to stab somebody.
Oh my god.
I was like, boy, get out, make haste out my face and go sit down.
But wait.
So
Listen, I had a
so you
kid-
just gonna take my property like that? Boy,
Yes,
get out my
absolutely.
I had a kid. Okay, when I was teaching second grade,
Whoa.
my one student that was like my trouble kid, he was going off every couple of weeks. He'd have like a meltdown, and then the one day he came to school with his book bag and was being real sus. Like, he was walking in his book bag. If anyone got too close, he'd be like, "Get away from my book bag! Don't look inside of it! Don't look in my book bag!" And I'm like,
Don't
What's in the
be
book bag?
suspicious.
Yeah.
Right.
So he's like doing that all morning, and then finally the kids go off to specials, and I'm like, I'm gonna look in the book bag. I
Okay.
want to know what's in that book bag. So
Okay.
I walk over and I just peek inside. I'm like, boy brought his iPad to school. I'm like, dude, you made me think you had some weapons in
Okay.
here.
Right, like
Weapons of
freaking
mass
out.
Like,
destruction.
he was acting real sus, and I'm like, okay, you just don't want people to touch your iPad, but don't act like that because it made me scared.
The
my
things that
gosh.
children bring to school in their
Yo,
book bags too.
yo.
We do like different
Yo.
units.
Yup.
So it's always the units that I'm having most fun with that like is terrible. So we have like a dramatic play area, right? And so like depending on what we're learning about, like sometimes it'll be a bakery, sometimes it'll be a restaurant or whatever. And so there are 2 times I made it a beauty shop once, big mistake on my part, and then I made it a bakery. And we had like I had all of like the silverware out, and we talked about plastic kid silverware, you know, the ones that are like red, orange, and green, and they're this
Right.
big. And I was talking about how we cut cake like this, we do this, we do that, and, then we imagine play. And so the next day they come to school and they were just like whispering about their book bag and stuff, and their book bags are outside of our classroom.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, why are they talking about their book bag so much? She's like, well, can I go grab my toy in my bag? I'm like, no, you can't leave the room without a teacher. You're not doing that. But it was all day about this for the play area. I'm like, I'll go get what you brought from home for the play area. I'll make sure it's clean and then we can play it. It was a giant butcher knife that this kid brought in. And I was like,
God.
and they're like 5. They have no idea. But like, I was talking about like when you cut a cake and then you get a big piece if you want to cut no. And I was like, oh, what do I do with this? I like had to take the book bag and put it like in my office and locked it in there. But I was like, this is so uncomfortable. Like I can't send him home on the bus with this either. Like you can't do that. So I was like, cool. That's great.
What the heck?
I don't
my
know. I was like that. Maybe it's my teacher. Maybe I should have been like, grab the biggest knife you can find to cut this cake. probably my bad. But then we did a beauty shop, and I was doing a production of Tarzan, and my hair had extensions that were put into it. So my hair is probably a little longer than this, but it was up in like a man bun over the 3-week period of the show. And I was in class and the kids were fascinated that all of a sudden I grew like, 2 feet of hair overnight. And so we had a beauty shop at the time in the classroom, and we had multiple problems with it. And I was thinking about shutting it down early, but I didn't. One of them was that the child took the safety scissors in our classroom and then cut her braid off on the bus. Like the front one.
Oh my gosh.
And told her mom that the girl next to her did it. And so I got in huge trouble for this. I'm like, I didn't know she stole scissors. And buses have cameras in it. And you can see the little girl go and just cut her own hair. The mom was super nice to me after that. But so I was like, okay, we're going to shut it down. Like, we can't have this. I'm like, you know what? Don't do that. Because of like, no, she wasn't trying to hurt anyone. We were learning about beauty shops. And so I let down my extensions, and they asked if they could, play with my hair. I said, okay, fine. So I'm sitting there, and I'm like,
okay.
And it's getting tugged on. I'm like, and I was like, can we stop? No, Mr. Williams, stay there. And they're like brushing it. And I'm like, this hurts really bad. Something's got to be going on. They had gotten the lice comb, because I had like a thing of like lice combs in my classroom stuck in the extensions. Didn't know what to do about it. And so they tried to get another lice comb to put it out. And then for some reason, put a rubber band in there.
No.
So I have 2 feet of synthetic hair on my head. And there's 2 combs and a rubber band stuck in it. And I was like, I don't know how to fix this.
Because synthetic hair, if you get that tangled, it's
not coming. It's
not
never
coming
coming out. And these are combs, like it's a brush that you can wiggle out. So I was like, cool. So I went through the rest of the day, tied it up. I have 2 combs, rubber band in there. And at the end of the day, I had
only
to
a
go to the
preschool
theater.
teacher.
You're the real MVP.
They cut it off.
You know,
rebreeded
the
it.
craziest story that I have ever, this is not my story, but this is one of the craziest stories about a child that has ever been sent to me. So, in 8th grade, you do home ec. Mm-hmm. Do y'all remember that? Where they either give you like a pretend baby doll, or they give you like a bag of sugar or something like that.
I did it my freshman year, bag of
So
rice.
I had a baby.
Yeah, I had
my
a
senior
bag
year
of
of high
sugar.
school.
A real baby?
I had a bag of sugar.
Oh, the fake babies that cry.
Yeah.
Oh, like
Yes,
fake
I
babies?
had a real baby.
I'm like, why would they give?
Who's donating their babies for
who's
this
donating
class?
the babies to the classroom? Just a set of 12.
No, it was a robot.
So,
and you had to do the key in the back.
Yeah.
No.
So they like gave them fake babies or whatever for this home ec class that they had to have all week. So this kid gets to class, and the teacher is like standing up teaching, and she hears a baby crying, and she's like, because the little doll babies, they cry.
Yeah.
So she's like, whoever's baby that is, turn it off. Like, it needs to stop crying. The baby does not stop crying. So like a couple more minutes goes by, and she's like, hey, turn that baby off. It would not stop crying. So she walks over to this kid's book bag, y'all. His 4-week-old little sister was in his book bag.
You lied to me.
I am not lying.
In the book bag?
She was in his book bag. And not only was she in his book bag, but the poor baby had a full face of makeup on. I was like, what?
I have.
What?
How does the parent not realize?
I have
that
so
the
many
baby's
questions.
gone?
So they called. Now they did have to take the baby to the hospital because she had like a couple of dings because she was in his book bag.
Book bag.
But apparently,
Couple of
Wait,
dings.
this is a weird question. What was it, zipped?
no.
Oh, okay.
We're talking
But
about a baby, not a
apparently-
car, and the baby has some
I know,
dings.
right.
Okay. Apparently,
Right.
shut up. Apparently, on the bus though, all the other 8th graders knew, and they all took turns passing the baby around, and holding it in the backpack so it wouldn't cry.
Oh.
And they think that the baby
God.
had a full face of makeup on because they were trying to make it look like a doll, like the other dolls, so that the teacher wouldn't know. And I'm like, but it throws up and cries and poops. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
a
How
pretend
did the
doll's.
mom not know?
Girl, because she had a baby 4 weeks ago and she was tired, I guess.
I mean, but I also like, maybe the kid was like, hey, we're doing the baby project at school. Can I use baby Barbara? And the
I
mom's like,
cannot.
absolutely. Take this 4 week away from me.
I need to sleep.
Oh my
So,
God.
That's
weird-
crazy.
Did you know that I was not allowed to do the take home baby thing? Because our home ec teacher, like at the beginning of the school year, she gave us this like really big story about how in high school she was bullied by cheerleaders, and the next day, of course, it was a game day, so me and my friend Alexis walked in our uniforms, and she was so mean to us after that, and she just straight up told us we were not allowed to do the baby project.
She can't do that.
We didn't get a turn.
I would have
We
been
didn't
like,
take it.
thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank
'cause
you.
I ain't want to take that little raggedy baby home anyway.
Listen, I did that baby project my senior year of high school, and I had the baby that was like perfect during the day, but
Isn't
then
it too
screamed and
late?
cried at night.
Like,
And
why
I
would you do
hated
your
it.
senior year? Like, if you've gone that far, you've made it. You know what I mean? Like,
You've made
we did.
it.
You're supposed to do it in
I
eighth
don't know.
grade.
It was. I had an extra free period, and
So you
was
decided
like,
to
I'll just take family and consumer sciences, and so
That's
like
what I
Those
did.
random classes.
it is the most random class. But like I remember, my boyfriend at the time, we took the baby in the little car seat. We went and got like Dairy Queen one night, and we took the baby in the car seat because he had to have it at all times.
Yeah.
And I set it on the ground next
No,
to
you
the
did not.
table. It was
No,
a
you did not.
robot. Come
No,
on.
you did not.
I put it on the ground. Anyway, the car seat, not the baby.
Either way, if
I
you
mean, it's
say
better
you
than a book
drove away
bag.
with it,
Yeah, it's
better
better
than
than
a
a
book
book
bag.
But it was a robot
did.
baby. So we're sitting there eating ice cream, and this old couple, like 3 tables down, is just
no.
staring at me. And like you could tell they were judging, like they thought I had a kid, and like for real. I'm like, it's a robot. Like I looked at them.
Also, so what if you have a kid?
Right. So what? But
You
like,
can go on the ground.
you know, it
How
was not a real
sad.
baby.
Wait, but where would you put the baby then?
I would never put Peyton's car seat on the ground.
Where would
When
you
she was a
put
little
it?
bitty. I mean, they
We're not
have
parents. We don't know.
they have like a booster. You can turn the booster seat, like you can
Oh
put
yeah,
the
you
car
turn it
seat
upside down.
into the
What?
high chair.
You turn the high chair upside down, and it turns into like a booster seat holder or a
like
car
a
seat
car
holder.
seat holder.
I don't know.
Is this true?
Yes, I only know this from working in
He's
restaurants.
a dad.
He's a daddy.
He
I that would be the
You're
baby.
fired.
The baby. We're talking to our producer. You can put a high chair upside down and put what's it called?
A car
car
A
seat.
car seat on top.
yeah.
That's top heavy.
Because you can't put
it's
it
gonna
on.
like
I
a
wouldn't
weeble
put-
wobble.
No, it
it's not
doesn't.
gonna wobble. It's steady. I wouldn't put Peyton on the ground, and you can't put it on the table because the car seat too big. Because when they're little itty bitty, you take them everywhere in their car seat when they're first born.
Interesting. I never see. We're not.
I'm adopting a
parents. Like, I don't-
17-year-old. My husband is a college professor, so then the kid can go to school for free. And I'll be like, wow, it's hard. No, a baby. That's too much responsibility. You
I
gotta
have
keep that
never
thing
been so
alive.
tired in all my life than after I gave birth to Peyton. I was so sleepy. She started crying. I was like, I looked at the nurse. I was like, hey, she crying. You gonna come get her? She was like,
Right.
you're her mom. I was like, I just gave
Just
birth.
barely.
I'm tired.
Yeah, I just had her. Let's not put titles on
like,
things.
this is
like,
sleepy.
I have some free childcare for the next day and a half. You
Right.
go get my
Okay.
crying
Oh, I
baby.
would-
I was
see, that's
so,
why I wouldn't leave the
y'all, I was so
hospital.
tired.
I'm like, what do I have to pay for you to come home with me and take care
I was
of this
so
baby?
tired.
My
It's like
child
the
would be,
episode of The Office when Jim and Pam have their baby, and they're like, "When do we have to leave?" And they're like, "Now." We're like, "But we
No.
just want to wait like another hour. Like we don't want to
I
leave
know.
yet."
Get out now.
Did you ever watch? Was it Problem Child?
Mm-mm.
It was like the little redhead kid, and he was like really bad, and he was always like,
I thought that was Dennis. Dennis.
no,
Dennis.
it was called and like, okay, so maybe I'm the only one that's seen this.
You're the
And
only
the kid's like
one.
going to like find like the heart in the middle of the city that he has. Okay, just kidding, but
This is Tel's motion.
I
for
don't know
everything.
why everyone walks
Going
this
on a
way to
hike,
me.
finding
Yeah.
the heart of the city.
Yeah, it goes like this. They just
Goes
walk
like that.
this way. I think that's just like how I just picture every kid who has like an attitude
You
walks
go
like
on an
this.
adventure.
Like all my students
You
just
did
like,
it to you too, like when you did it portraying yourself as well.
yeah, I was a prom child as well. I mean, not prom. No kid's a prom. But I was a wild child. I was not.
Have y'all ever seen like a large group of kids get into a fight?
Yeah,
Yes.
That's why.
I
Y'all
can't
have?
say I have.
like a
Yes.
sprawl.
So the classroom.
mean a
that I used
brawl?
to- yeah, they
What's a
like
sprawl?
straight up.
Sprawl
What's a
means like
spra-
spreading out.
I was like, a sprawl is like, yeah.
We can't be. I can't keep doing this.
You,
Well,
do
you
you
don't
need
know
your
what
do you need your
stuff is?
quail?
I need my quail in a dictionary.
People who didn't watch them other episodes have no idea what
No,
quail
they're like a
is.
quail.
But I was standing up teaching 6th graders. Now, the 6th grade building is separate from the 7th and 8th grade building because for some reason, from 6th grade to 7th grade, they get so big. I
Yeah.
mean, you were like, they get so big in
Oh.
between 6th and 7th grade. So I'm standing up teaching. My classroom looked over like the courtyard where football and basketball and track and everybody would walk through. So football came walking through one day. Football and track came walking through one day. And I'm standing up teaching, just talking. I hear one of my kids go, "Hey, Miss Richardson, they fighting." So I look up, y'all, the football. I have never seen this many kids get into a fist fight. The football players and the track team are lit. There had to have been like 35 of them
No.
out
Oh
there.
my god.
My whole class, I couldn't even be mad at them. I couldn't even tell them to sit down. My whole class got up and like rushed the window and were like, they're fighting. So, of course, somebody recorded it. So you hear me on the video saying, "Hey, stop." And I just stood because I'm like, what am I supposed to do?
You
Like,
should
where
not put
where
yourself in
are
that.
y'all
No.
coaches at?
Yeah.
Right.
So I raised the window up and I'm like yelling at them to stop. I see no coach in sight. And I'm like, I can't leave my kids in here by themselves.
No.
So at some point in time, I was just like, well, I mean, I guess I'm just gonna stay here. One of my kids was like, Miss Richardson, you a teacher? Go get somebody.
No, see, I don't think so. I don't think that we signed up to teach. I did not sign myself up to be in the middle of this sprawl.
Now I wasn't gonna
No.
break them. I ain't going out there to break.
No.
I don't
Again,
understand why people
I'm not breaking up.
assume, like, when I
I'm not
get
breaking up
asked,
the fight.
what do you do when there's a fight? What do you expect me to
I ain't
do?
doing
I'm
nothing.
5 foot tall.
I don't care if
doing
you're
nothing.
6'2". Like that's
Now
not
I
your
will
job.
say, okay, I say I'm not gonna break up a fight. I will say if it's a kid that I'm close to, like if it's 2 kids that I'm close to, I break them up because they know don't hit me.
Oh my
They
God,
know
I
don't
get
hit me.
mad.
But if it's kids I don't know, I'm not breaking them up.
No, if
Listen,
I-
okay,
if-
so when I was a freshman in high school, there was a fight outside of my social studies class. And it was these 2 girls that were just going at it. And, like, there was, like, extensions on the ground. And, like, there was blood. It was not pretty. It was
Girls
a
are
bad
mean
fight.
when they fight.
No.
The
Okay.
teachers at our high school were not afraid to break up fights. So, like, Mr. Murphy, like, was running down the hall. And he's, like, grabbing the one girl. And our principal, Mr. McGlynn, is grabbing the other girl. And then, like, they're dragging him down to the principal's office. So the fight is, like, over. Been over for 5 minutes.
Hairs on the ground.
Yeah, hair and blood on the ground. And then there's our student teacher jumps out of the door and he goes, "Where's the fight?" Like, he's gonna go and help
Oh,
break it up.
No.
What you gonna do?
I know. I'm
It's
like,
done.
super teacher over here. Like, it was over. Like,
Bless his
over
heart.
for 5
You
minutes.
gotta know how to break up fights though, because people who are amateurs and don't know how to break up fights,
They're going to get hurt.
if you are breaking up a fight and you grab one child, make sure you do something with the
The
other
other
child,
one,
because
yeah.
now the one you didn't grab getting beat up because
Yeah.
ain't nobody holding you. Got to snatch
You gotta
both
snatch
of them at
both.
the same time.
You gotta get in between.
or get somebody in the mix.
If you don't know how to break up a fight, don't try to break up a fight. 'Cause
Right.
you
Luckily,
amount
I
of-
teach a
Because
grade
you
level
gotta
with
know
no
how to
fight.
lie.
Oh no,
and weave.
the weird thing is that people like pre-Kers fight all the time because they don't understand the
like fist fight,
Yes.
they be hitting each other.
Oh my.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they don't understand like because
Uh-huh.
like if they want something and like you
They
think,
don't
like,
understand social
No.
norms.
No, because they're like
Dang.
because that's what you have to teach them. Like that's what we
Yeah.
do.
I'll
in
be like, hey,
pre-K.
don't break them up.
I
Let me get
did.
a couple
I
of
remember
licks in.
doing a preschool practicum and
Yeah.
having to teach a whole semester in a preschool classroom. Oh my God, I hated it.
The-
But
Are you
anyway,
serious?
The biting
Yeah.
that happens.
Oh, yeah.
They bite each
but-
other. Oh my God, I could
no.
never. I could
No.
never.
They bite
I'm
me.
staring at
They
Jordan
bite
because
you?
Jordan got kicked out of his preschool for being
biting.
a biter.
I'm not. No, y'all. This is the
bite
biggest
you?
problem. Yes,
Yes.
me. Oh,
I'd be locked up.
No,
Yes.
I had a for the longest time I thought I was gonna scar. It literally was just like this giant purple mark from a child biting me so hard. I would you get to like move them apart and like, I mean, what are you gonna like? They don't understand like that they're actually fighting. They just want things, but they grab. I mean, it's always like hair pulling or biting. And then and I'm like, why would you? And I don't, because teachers are supposed to like ask open-ended questions, and I always go, why would you do that? Ew, like because they go at it. I mean, drawing blood.
Yes.
Yeah.
Listen, kids, I'm sorry, but when kids get mad, they have some kind of superhuman
They do.
strength.
They do.
Like, my first year teaching, I had this kid that was like, whenever he was mad about something, it was like a rage just fell over him. And like, it got to the point where my classroom actually had to have an escape plan. Like, my
Oh,
kids,
dang.
my
Yes.
students had to actually get removed from the room and go to the room next door. Like, we had like a code. They knew as soon as I said
Yep.
this word, they
Yep.
left.
An escape
And-
plan. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
behavior
that was part of it to like
Dang.
leave him in the environment,
Yep.
everyone else leave.
Yep.
And so I would shut the door, and all the kids would be with the teacher next door, and I would be with him. And I just let him, he just would do his thing and like, let it out. And at the one day it got really bad. It was like 2 weeks before Christmas, and I forget what made him mad, but he started picking up whole desks and chucking
Yep.
them across the
Yep.
room, or chairs. And then
What kind of Hercules child?
No,
Oh,
and,
I'm
and
telling
these
you.
are heavy. It's heavy stuff.
and
I
this
don't
was
know
a
what
7-year-old,
happens. Yeah.
and he turned around, and I was like too close to him. He turned around and grabbed both of my wrists and twisted them around and held me, like pinned me like that,
I can't say
and
what I would
sprained
do
my wrists.
because I
Mine
think
would
it's
do.
illegal.
I had a kid that would do with the thumb thing. He would know
Yeah.
the thumb because all these hands or all these fingers bend back all the way.
Your husband
Dude,
looks so
thumb.
stressed out. Looking, he like, I don't
Yeah,
know
no,
what
he
kind of
remembers
situations
that.
y'all
He
were
remembers
in.
that situation. Well, because it was a big thing. But like, my wrists were sprained. Like, I had to go in and
Dang.
teach the next week with 2 wrapped wrists.
Did they put him back in your class?
He got suspended for 2 weeks, but like,
Wow.
that was it.
That's it.
I had
That's
to get
it.
expelled for the exact. So we had an escape plan. So everything that, and there was, all these things put into place.
Good Lord.
And he would, so pre-K furniture is super heavy because it can't tip. And so when he would, we had like 2 freakouts. The first one wasn't too bad. It sucks that they destroy your room. So like their artwork is supposed to be at eye level and mine was always way high up. So he couldn't reach it. And so first one was super bad. We just had to redo the class or clean up the classroom, and he helped. That was part of the process. Second time, the kids are in the middle of having snack, and it's starting to happen. So the other teacher goes out into the hallway with the kids, and they're having snack. And I'm in the classroom with him, and he was like, it was the most bizarre thing. He looks at me, he's like, "Ow, Mr. Williams," starts smacking himself. I'm like, "Nope." And so I grab my phone, I'm recording it, and then the principal was there watching it because I was like far away from the child.
What?
He starts tipping things, and then he takes the block, and I'm not talking about a hollow block, I'm talking a heavy block. Like these things have been around since like the 80s at this program. And he starts launching them, and I was like, okay. And he's like, kept saying, "Ow," and then he throws one, and I just move in time, and it smacks me in the back of the head hard. Curse, and he's like, "I'm telling," because I cursed.
You're being a little
He's
terror.
like,
Tell that.
I think like the scream cursing of that I did like scared him enough to like stop freaking out. The principal comes in and has to remove the child, and I'm like, "I'm okay," and they're like, "You're not okay," and I'm like, "No, I'm fine." And just all of a sudden, it like drips down.
My God.
I had a concussion. I was out for a week.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so-
I almost got the
Dang.
same day
Knocked
that
the
the
crap out of
kid
you.
sprained my wrist. It was like right before he had sprained my wrist. There was a pile of desks to my left, and there was a pile of chairs over
Nope.
here. The
Nope.
teacher next door was in the doorway telling something to me.
Yeah.
I turned around and she goes, "Lauren," and I turn and he has this chair up over
Yep.
my head, like about to bash me in the head with a chair. And
my
I like
gosh.
just ducked
You have
out
to
of the
think-
way in time.
I have never had a
No.
child put their hands on
We're
me.
getting
Oh,
the kids
many
though.
times.
This is when we're getting you're like the elementary age, especially the like pre-K is the first time that they are, I think, can get an assessment done.
Right.
So this is when we're finding these behaviors out is in this and trying to like. But I know like my kiddo was diagnosed with failure to bond. Like
Oh,
like
wow.
he should not have been in a public school setting. Like there was a lot going on, but like when I've had students who like harm other children and have they're like they just don't get it. And so but when we have them in elementary schools, when you see these behaviors and then you start the assessment so that in middle school and high school you have those behavior plans and IEPs. But
That's
it's
crazy.
Yeah, but when you have the little ones, it's a whole nother ball game.
it's like the alligator strength jaws.
I have a friend who works at a restorative charter school. And we basically have this program in our state. It's called the Right School. And kids go there it's like a last kind of resort kind of thing for social emotional learning. The kids board during the week.
Yeah.
And just learn social emotional learning.
Like they
and
stay there?
Yes, and they go home over the weekend, and the psychologists have to meet with the parents before they pick up to talk about the skills that
This
they have
must
to
be
practice.
a smaller school.
It's like a last resort kind of thing at school.
Can't
And
be a lot of kids there though.
there's not.
Yeah, that
Sounds
sounds
like
for
that'd
them.
be too many.
It's not. There's not a lot of kids. It's like a last resort kind of thing. And my friend works at this restorative charter school that's one step before the Right School. And hearing some of the stories and she teaches middle school.
Yeah, her stories are
And
crazy.
there's this one kid who said something really offensive, and this girl just looked at him and said, "You can't say that. That's offensive." And so he said, "Oh, really?" Grabbed her by the throat and just like slammed her down.
This
onto
was
the
another
concrete.
kid?
Yeah, this is another kid.
I don't
I
even-
would, I would
for me, that's not
probably
even
just like run out of the door. I don't know what I would do.
For me, that's not even just like a wild child. That's like there's something clearly like.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was another kid who, and like this is really intense. For some reason, and there are people that think that this kid might have DID.
Yeah, I've had that. That's
dissociative identity disorder. But for something set him off, and he just started tearing into this one kid, like trying to beat the snot. And this is a kid, like the kid he was beating up is a kid that some of the other kids are kind of afraid of. This new kid just tore into this kid and started very vividly describing how he would want to end that
Children,
kid. Like,
children are like dogs. They can smell
Holy
fear. You can't let them know
Hey,
that
moly.
they're
I
scared.
tell people all the time, I'm like, kids are like sharks. If they smell blood in the water,
They're
they're
going.
attack
They're
you.
going. They're also like
ridiculous.
That was me
wayfinders.
my first year teaching. I was shiny
was
and
me, my
new and
Oh yeah.
that
They
was me
smell
my
the blood.
second year teaching.
They told
on
you
that
real
field trip.
fast. Yeah.
That
I mean, I guess because I'm like a coach or whatever. Like my kids just don't. Even the crazy kids, they send them to me. Like I let my kids know off the jump. I don't tolerate any type of disrespect. I ain't gonna disrespect you. Don't disrespect me. And
I've never seen anything super like physical or crazy or anything. I mean, the worst 2 things I've seen like physically was we have a class at the school that I was previously at where kids who other kids that are really focused on social emotional learning. And one kid was out in the hallway. I was on lunch duty, and so I was like, "Hey, where are you going? Where's your lunch pass?" And he looked angry that I was just asking him this question.
They pop
and
off
he
quick.
started like getting like really close to me and kind of like towering over me, and I was like, what the heck? And all of a sudden his teacher comes out and goes, no, and she's like, you're good, you're fine, go wherever you're going. She's like, you can't tell him what to do.
How the hell was I supposed to know?
Right.
And I'm like,
oh, I'm
okay.
sorry.
I'm sorry. He wears his
She goes,
behavior plan on his shirt.
she's like, I know you're new. I'm just letting you know, but like he would have hit you. Like he would have just absolutely hit you. She's like, so just like if you ever see him,
I don't understand. Here go my thing.
Let him do.
This my thing. Because it needs to be said. Why would a teacher have to be told? Like why? First of all, why is he in school if y'all know he gonna swing on people? He needs to go somewhere else.
He's heard that teacher before.
Yeah,
she's like, they won't take him out.
He needs to go somewhere else.
This is like what we were talking about in the car when like there are ridiculous standards for behavior.
Absolutely
like,
not.
At that school, the same school that I, got like hurt at, it happened like 3 years in a row. I taught there for 3 years. And every freaking time that a kid would get taken out of my room, and listen, I'm on the side of the kids. Like, I don't blame the kids for anything.
For sure.
But as adults, we are not helping them by taking them out of the room, letting them sit in color for 5 minutes, and then giving them a bag of chips and sending them back to class.
Oh,
like,
for
it's
sure.
Not,
and
not helping
it's
them.
hard, too, because there's the psychology behind it, right? So, like, you don't want to, like, enforce in this child that they're, like, when we're enforcing at the pre-K level that like you're bad and that's why you're not coming to school, then what's the point of like them trying to like not hit a student or bite a student or yell at their teacher or throw a table if it's already ingrained in them that they're bad and that like that's just what they are.
Right.
But then so I look at the opposite end of the spectrum of like, yeah, but we can't reward the behavior either. So I'm always stuck with this because like really me being like the funny teacher, I'm like, no, students need to. Oh wait, you never need to be beat up at school and you shouldn't be beat up at school. But I also then think like, I've had so many kids removed from like the Head Start program because it was just like it wasn't safe for the teacher anymore, and it's a liability for them for sure to have teachers get hurt. And I feel so bad. I feel guilty. I'm like, what kind of toxic relationship is this with teaching that I feel bad when a student's removed from my safety?
People have a right to feel safe at work.
For sure.
I'm not gonna put my hands on you. Don't put your hands on me. Like I mean, I ain't never had a kid. I've had a kid look like he wanted to hit me, but he knew don't put your hands on me.
See,
I just feel like there's something to be said about the amount of teachers that have been hit, kicked, bit by students, and then being told, well, I can't take them out of your class because they have a behavior plan. He literally punched 4 people within the same class. If Peyton was in that class, I'd be snapping on all of them.
Oh, well, that's the awkward thing is telling parents,
Yeah, he needs to go somewhere because if their child hit my child, we're going to have some problems. I don't care what little behavior plan he got. He better not put his hands on my child because y'all giving him a license to do that. He needs to keep his hands to himself or he needs to go to a different class.
I feel like it's not even just physical things. And, like, I hate the term, like, bad kids. Even, if anyone that knows my content, I do a lot of skits of, like, silly things that students might do or say. And I'll always refer to them as silly students. I don't like the term bad kid. But I don't even think what would define a wild child even would have to be physical. I'm in the high school level, I mostly have wild childs that like say really outlandish things to me. Like I've had one kid that was a senior. Like I hate teaching seniors because they think I'm their age and they think that we're friends. And I'm like, we're not friends. Like I love you, but we're not friends. And like this one kid, this was my second year teaching. So he was really only a couple years younger than I was. Miss Rogers, I bet I know the kind of girl you were in high school. Oh, I was.
Get your nasty self away from
me.
This
is the Vampire Diaries.
That is the only time I have ever kicked a kid out of my room. But I knew that I was going to smack him if I didn't. I was like, you need to get.
Listen, I had a kid.
I didn't kick too many kids.
I had a kid when I taught second grade. I had this one kid. He just was like, he didn't like me. And I mean, I liked him, but he got on my nerves a lot. And the one day, he was just trying to get to me, And that was the year that I just got married, so my name changed. And he like stood up on his desk in the middle of the classroom. I don't know what set him off, but like stood up on his desk in the middle of the classroom and he was like, "Oh, I know your new name. It's Mrs. Doodoo Balls. That's your new name, right?" And I was like, "Yep, that's my name. Don't wear it out." Like, that's my new name.
What the heck? Doodoo
Yeah,
Balls.
like,
slang
yeah, I'm
I've
like,
learned from kids.
Good one, guys.
So much
Good
fun.
one. Real
Someone
creative.
Someone was like, Mr. Williams, I got a Dookie. And I said, okay. Like, I don't know what a Dookie is. And so I was like, cool. And then they came out to me later and they're like, hey, I got to go Dookie. And I was like,
That's so gross.
and I'm like, what are they?
That's
like,
a gross
literally
word.
No
you didn't know what that word meant?
No idea.
Oh.
So I was like, cool. And so he comes up to me and I'm like,
Oh no.
and he was like, I Dookied. And I was like, what does that? And I look over and the parent's like, it means poop. Well, sister girlfriend, you could have told me that 25 minutes ago. I didn't know what Dookie was, and he pooped himself. And I was like, I had to call the parents and be like, he asked to Dookie. Can we use any other word? Because I didn't know what a Dookie was. I thought it was like a dance move. I thought, yeah, go knock yourself out.
That's
It's free
the
time.
Dougie,
Yeah,
boy.
well,
Yeah.
he dug something.
Listen, I had a kid that used to pee himself in class because he wouldn't raise his hand and ask to go to the bathroom.
Oh.
He
That
would
was
literally
mean.
sit there and like a second grader sit there in class and like pee his pants because he was afraid to ask. And I'm like, oh,
I
like,
peed my
dude,
pants.
just go. Like, you can go. And like his parents knew like I would let him go, but like he just never got up and said anything.
In second grade, I did that. I peed my pants, and I was in the cafeteria because someone had me laughing, and I was laughing a lot, and I peed, and I was like, how do I cover this up?
Oh,
And so I
no.
pretended I was drinking my chocolate milk, and I was like, whoa, and just like, dumped it. I dumped it in my lap. So I thought to myself, do you know what would be better than pee is spoiled milk on you for the rest of the day? And I was like, that's okay. I don't need to go home and change. And I like, as I stand up, and there's like just like pee all over the back. Yeah, I got about like halfway through recess in the freezing cold. Like, yeah,
Listen,
You gotta go in.
so
Oh
in
my
4th grade I
gosh.
was sick and I was trying to tell my mom was one of those parents that's like, unless you're bleeding out of your eyeballs, you're going to school.
yeah.
So I like woke up that morning, I just wasn't feeling good and I told my mom and she still made me go to school. So I'm on the bus to school and I just puke all over the two kids sitting in the seat with me.
No.
I know. It wasn't even just like I threw up on myself. I threw up on my friends. And so we get off the bus and I'm
Well,
just
they
like,
were your friends.
sorry, guys.
I ain't
know.
your friends
It was
anymore.
like, and that was the day I lost 2 friends. But I was like,
So-
sorry, kids. I didn't mean to throw up on you. But then I ended up going home. And I'm like, Mom, I told you I didn't feel good.
I told you so.
The justified, you know.
My mom was also like, go to school and blah blah blah. If you don't feel good, you're probably faking. And like my brother, one time he called my mom from school and he's like, I need you to come get me. Like, I'm bleeding. And my mom was like, you're probably fine. But what ended up happening was that like Ethan, there was a classmate who actually cut like the tip of his finger off on
my
accident.
God.
What?
And he was like bleeding profusely. And then the teacher called and was like, no, like, we need you to come right now. And she's, oh, okay. And so I got to go home too.
How
which
you
I
cut the end of your finger off?
because
Where the teacher
Ethan
at?
and I did like I meshed this with another story for a skit, but like Ethan, this girl was playing with scissors,
No.
and Ethan
Always a great
was like,
idea.
Always.
you need to not do that. And was like wagging his finger at her,
Oh,
and she would
no.
snip, snip, like trying to mess around, and it like cut this whole like it was a whole.
Dang, how sharp was those scissors?
Right, they were in kindergarten, so I don't
Kinda
know why.
Those are
scissors?
not safety
They
scissors.
were
They're
not.
not.
They were not.
That must have
Listen,
been back in like the
there was
90s
a
or
kid-
something.
There was a kid at my school that I guess somebody thought it would be funny to put a pencil under his like in his seat,
no.
and the kid
Stop.
sat down
Stop.
on the pencil
Stop.
and had to go to the hospital because he was impaled by a pencil.
In the crack or on the booty cheek?
No.
'Cause I need to know.
I don't need to
No.
know. I don't need to know.
That's
I
a rock
felt
bottom.
I
so
gotta
bad for the
know,
kid, but
man.
It's like, oh my god, you idiots! Why would you think that's funny?
Answer
Like,
my question. I gotta know. In the crack or on the booty cheek?
I don't know. I didn't see it,
I
but
So on that note, thank you guys for tuning in
God.
for this episode of Wild Child Stories.
I'm traumatized.
I am too. And there's a thing of pencil I just keep staring at.
Hey, they're sharp side down. It's okay.
Yeah, I feel safe.
But thank you guys so much for tuning in with us. We're gonna start putting on social medias suggestions that you guys will want to see for not just subjects, but also segments that we're gonna want to do during each episode, because we definitely want to hear from you guys and put out what you guys want to hear. So definitely be on the lookout on TikTok, on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Patreon, all of the things, and we'll see you guys later. We love you so much.